Well, Patty, I am super excited. It is our annual episode of the podcast where our good friends Jim and Abe join us to sit down and talk about anything and everything under the sun.
Jibber jabber.
Jibber jabber. And we're going to talk with them here on this episode of Travels with Delaney,
The podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Patrick.
I'm Patty.
And we are joined on the RV podcast couch.
Yes.
Little Bess is here today with us.
And Mr. Truman.
And we are back in the RV just for a weekend. This has become a tradition.
Man, is it cold?
It is cold. It was 18 degrees out this morning. I burned through about 3/4 of a tank of propane in 24 hours.
I'm not ready for this cold.
I know. I know. It's kind of crazy. But yeah. But we've done this. Is our third trip down to Columbus, Ohio, or near Columbus, Ohio, Alum Creek State Park.
Such a nice place.
And we've been doing this now third year with none other than Mr. Jim and Abe joining us. And those of you listening, we talk about Jim every week.
Yes.
Because he is our friend. He is our producer. He is the one that makes this sound great. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Hello. It's good to be here.
Yeah. This is a little chilly, but.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It's like February chilly.
It is.
Know.
It's
so
cold.
I mean, I remember cold down here the last couple years at Thanksgiving, but not like
cold.
this. I mean, this is.
And that wind is just, woo. Yeah. Even Bessie's like, what?
So I'm assuming, Jim, this will be our best audio ever because you set up the equipment.
I hope so. I don't know what any of those knobs and buttons do.
Well, me either.
I don't know.
It's amazing we get this thing out every week. So, well, I just thought, because we've done this, I think, the last 2 years where we sit down with you guys, and I think we've had set topics. Last year we talked about, if I remember right, winterization.
Yeah.
And I think the year before that we talked about how finding the right RV is never the right RV or something along that lines. You know, you always think you're buying.
Yeah.
And this year, I thought maybe we could talk about how RVing, your RVing lifestyle will change, ebb and flow as life goes on, because I know you guys have had some changes with yours. But before we do that, we have to do another exciting round of this or that. That's right. Hey, you get to do it with me. But guess what, Jim? You and Abe are in the hot seat this week.
Oh, no.
Patty is off the hot seat.
Yes.
All right. So, Abe and Jim, and you both get to answer your own answers. You just walked into the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World. You need a snack. Are you going popcorn or are you going Mickey ice cream bar? Wow.
This looks
Patty, Patty, normally you're like all over it.
Yeah, they're like,
I have
they're
my
really.
Yeah, your
go
answer?
ahead, Abe.
I've got my answer. All right, you ready on three?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Popcorn.
Mickey ice cream.
Oh, they did not agree.
Not if it's 19 degrees out. I can.
That might
Yeah.
So, wait a
influence
minute.
the
Who
answer.
said popcorn?
I did, yeah.
You said popcorn.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. I don't know what it is
That
about the popcorn
smell.
at Disney, but their popcorn to me always tastes better
So
than
good.
any
I
place
always
else.
think I don't want popcorn until I smell it. And
Right. And it's like once you
I
Once
smell
smell
you
it.
yeah.
smell it, you're
Right.
hooked.
Yeah. Then I'm already in.
Well,
So
ice
now I'm
cream
curious,
bars.
if you're there, we'll do a second round of this or that. So are you buying it just in the paper container, or if they have a popcorn bucket? You know what those are,
bucket.
right?
Yeah.
The souvenir bucket. Are you
souvenir
bucket.
are you upgrading to the souvenir bucket?
I think it depends. Like
Oh.
if it's, I know they had like Figment over at Epcot. If
Yeah.
I found one of those or Chippendale, I'd be
Okay.
all over that. Yeah.
So if it's something you liked, you
Oh
would,
yeah. I'm splurging.
Yeah. All right. So now, Jim, you went Mickey ice cream bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The good old. You do know you can pick those up at Meijer for a fraction of the cost.
No,
Yeah.
no.
I don't know if
so
they're the
much.
exact same, but yeah, we've
They're
actually bought them at
similar.
Meijer. You get like 4 bars for like $4, and I don't even know if you can get 1 bar at the Magic Kingdom for $4.
Probably
Probably
not. No.
So what it is about the Mickey bar that you liked over the popcorn?
I don't know. I think it's just one of those unique parks things that I think. Well, apparently not, because you can get them at Meijer. I'm
Yeah,
told, so.
they may
I
not
don't
be the
know.
same,
But yeah, no,
yeah.
it's just something. I mean, popcorn you can kind of get
Right.
anywhere, but the Mickey ice cream bar I just always associate with the parks.
And I didn't know whether you guys had ever tried the ice cream sandwich down at the ice cream parlor on
Oh,
Main
my
Street. I was going to throw
goodness.
that one at you, but I didn't know if you had ever had one of those because.
Is that the Nestle one?
Yes,
Yeah.
they use the
Yeah.
Nestle Toll House
Yes.
cookies, and
Yeah.
they dip the ice cream right in front
Yeah.
of you, so they're not pre-made.
Yeah.
Because that used to be our
You're
our
making
go-to.
me hungry. Very, very hungry.
So I'm curious, Patty. You're not
Yes.
really on the hot seat, but which way would you go?
I would have went popcorn.
Popcorn, yeah. I don't know what it is about the popcorn, and I don't eat that much popcorn.
No,
but
but
I get in the
there's-
parks, I'm like,
I want
yeah, I
popcorn.
want to spend $14 for
And
some
an emu
popcorn.
leg.
And an emu leg. They're not emu legs; they're
They
turkey
look
legs.
like it. They're
That myth was dispelled years ago.
Okay.
You ever hear that one when you
Yeah.
were working?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, wink,
Yeah.
wink.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
For those of you that don't know, I know a lot of you know that Patty and I spent a couple summers working at Disney, but Abe and Jim also have worked at Disney,
Yes.
which is usually where this podcast ends up going.
Yes.
Is talking about Disney.
It eventually turns.
Yeah, the four of us all have a love for Disney.
For
we,
the mouse.
we can't afford to love it too much anymore,
No.
but things have gotten a little pricey down there.
out of my
Yeah.
price range.
So
Yep.
anyway, I just thought that would be a fun one.
Yeah. Sounds good.
And we're headed to Disney before long, so now I know what Patty I need to buy her. Good.
Popcorn.
We
Yeah,
agree on the
popcorn.
popcorn.
That's right.
Yeah, for anybody, is there a snack? I mean, get rid of those two choices. Is there something seriously where you're like, if I could go back to the Magic Kingdom or any Disney park, what would be something you would definitely want? Patty. Okay, Patty.
Those burger pods things at
At the Animal Kingdom, back in Avatar Land
what
or
are they?
whatever.
They're like
It's a bao
Indo-
bun.
A
It's a
bao
bao bun.
bun.
A what?
It's a bao bun. Are you familiar with bao buns?
No,
they're
is
they're-
that also emu?
No, there's not even. Well, at least we don't think it is.
It's like a burger with dough around it.
Yeah, so it's like a steamed dumpling bun,
With the burger.
and then they stuff them with things. But back in Avatar Land, it's called like a cheeseburger bao bun, and I'm telling you, when you bite into it, you would think you were eating a McDonald's cheeseburger. I don't know how they do
they're
it.
really
It's
good.
like you have all
Might
the
even
flavors.
be better than McDonald's cheeseburger.
It probably is better than McDonald's cheeseburger, but yeah,
They're so good.
that's interesting that's what you would choose.
Another
so.
thing I thought of.
Yeah.
You think you know someone.
Yeah, exactly. I've been married for almost 33 years. And I
First
Now,
just-
time
if
you've heard bao bun.
If it's summer and it's like you're on the sun, sitting on the sun when you're at
Yeah.
Disney, I always want an It's a Kadoozy.
It's a Kadoozy.
Ooh, is that the spiral one?
Yeah, that's a spiral ice
Yep.
cream.
Like
Kind of like
ice at
a.
the popsicle.
It's like a popsicle. but
colorful
yeah.
rainbow.
We used to eat a lot of those when we worked down
I
there.
go for the twisty soft serve at Mrs. Potts cupboard in
Oh.
Fantasyland.
Oh, yeah.
Now, are you a Dole? Are you guys Dole?
Dole
Yeah,
Whippers?
yeah, I was going to say
okay.
Dole Whip.
Because that's like a
Team
big
Dole Whip.
deal down there.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you do?
I don't know that there's anything that I absolutely ever have to have,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll tell you what I want to try that I've never tried.
All right.
I've heard at Epcot, back in the German Pavilion, they make caramel corn fresh with Werther's caramel. And I've heard it's unlike any caramel, partially because they're making it fresh right there.
Ah.
And I really want to try that. But I used to be a huge fan, and that's probably why I'm huge, of the Nestle Toll House ice cream
Yeah.
sandwich because they were baking the Nestle Toll House cookies fresh, and then when you order it, they'd grab 2 cookies, scoop your ice cream, whatever you wanted flavor-wise, and those things, we used to split them.
We did. They're so
Yeah.
big.
Because they were so
love
big.
those.
and so
Yeah.
thick.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Casey's hot dogs.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what it
Yeah.
is about. I'm not a huge hot dog
No.
fan, but
No.
there's something about if you're going to the Magic Kingdom, you kind of got to get Casey's
do,
hot dog. Yeah. So
More like nostalgic.
I think that's what it is.
Nostalgic treats.
Yeah, that was the only thing probably my family could afford when we were kids. That's why it's actually that's not true.
No.
My dad had a favorite restaurant when we would go to the Magic Kingdom because when I was a kid, there was just the Magic Kingdom.
Right.
There was no Epcot
No other-
or anything like
yeah.
that. He loved eating at Columbia Harbor House, back across
yeah.
from the Haunted Mansion.
Mhm.
Because
Fried
he,
chicken, right?
No, he always got the shrimp, fried
Okay.
shrimp. They do fish and shrimp back there, and chicken strips. And to this day, they pretty much have the same menu they had when I was a kid. But that was like, I don't know why Dad loved going for the fried shrimp, and I think we usually got fish. But yeah,
Yeah,
There you
we'd
go.
always end up at Pecos Bill
Yep.
Yes.
Frontierland.
see,
That
Pecos
was-
Bill was so much better. I don't know how many
Back
years
in the day.
back in the day,
Yeah.
because back in the day, and that was our day. I'm not sure how that coincides
Yeah.
with your day, but in our day, it was a burger joint
Yeah.
with a toppings bar.
That's right.
Oh.
And
Yes.
toppings
Yes.
bar,
Yes.
you
The
can
top-
make a little salad.
And yeah, so Patty and I would go in and order a burger,
Uh-huh.
and then we would slide our fries off to the side, grab the chopped lettuce,
Yeah.
and add some tomato and whatever toppings were there,
Yep.
and then we would mix
Relish
and
and mayo? What's that?
no, it was
No.
mayo, French dressing, because they had the mayo for the
You
burgers.
can make it almost like Thousand Island.
Maybe it wasn't French dressing. Maybe
I don't
I don't know. But somehow we made a dressing out
Yeah.
of it. Oh, ketchup. We'd add ketchup to the to the mayo.
Yeah.
Make like a little dressing.
Uh-huh.
We have a little side salad with our burger.
Do they not have the topping bar anymore?
They do not, and maybe
No.
that's
You,
why.
you know why?
Because
People were abusing it, making it a salad bar.
maybe.
Ruined it for everybody.
That could
We
be.
ruined it,
Yeah.
Darn it.
Actually, somebody said they now serve like more of a Mexican, like
Yes.
tacos or
Yes.
burritos or something.
Oh, I don't
think.
think they were doing that when we were.
No.
No.
Yeah,
I
it was,
don't
yeah.
remember
You said
that.
it was a
It was
burger
burgers,
joint.
yeah,
like-
it was a Western,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of disappointing because we were always looking for ways to cut costs.
You did.
Because when we were working there, like when you worked there, you could go in for free any day you wanted that you weren't working. But we were making back then a whopping like $6.35 an hour,
Right.
Woo-wee.
and so we were always looking to go in just to have something cheap and so.
Have a little fun. And yeah.
Sorry, everybody, if we ruined the toppings bar at Payco Bill. All right.
Sorry.
All right. Well, let's get down to, I
Get
guess,
down to
business.
business.
But you knew this was what was going to happen when we
Spiral.
we
Yeah,
all
it's
get
either going
together.
Disney or food or both.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
both.
Squirrel.
Yeah.
Squirrel.
Yeah, and we're only, what are we about? Oh, gosh, are we still
It's about 3
a
hours.
little over 3 hours away from dinner?
Are you going to make it?
I guess. But, that's what this trip is all about. This trip is about
Fun food.
food,
And laughs.
IKEA, usually some adult beverages,
Yep.
and just having a good time.
Laughs, yeah.
Getting all
Yeah,
together.
Costco,
So.
maybe a Costco.
Maybe a
Costco
Costco run
run.
in there. We did the Costco run today.
Yeah.
We've done the IKEA twice
Yeah.
in less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
So good times. But
Yeah.
all right. Well, anyway, what I wanted to talk to you about was you guys started RVing. What year did you buy your first RV? Do you remember?
Let's see. We got the Lance in 2020, so 2018?
I think so.
Is that right? Yeah.
And your first RV was a Tab 400.
Yeah.
All right. What made you want to go get a camper?
I think I got the bug first.
I was gonna say,
And-
who was it? Was it Abe or was it you?
Yeah, no, this was my fault. So I got into ham radio. We had moved back up to Ohio in 2014.
Yep.
And I've been in broadcasting my whole life, but I had never gotten around to getting my amateur radio license. And I wanted to do that. So I reconnected with some old engineering buddies, and they camped. And they all had campers. So they said, we're going down to, it was Guilford Lake State Park in Ohio. And they said, come on down and hang out. We're going to do a campfire and everything. And I got down there, and we used to tent camp. And they all had campers. And I'm like, this is kind of nice, right? So the running joke was that you can get your amateur radio license for $25, but it's really a six-figure investment because you end up buying a camper and a truck and another camper and another. So that's sort of what got my interest peaked in getting back into camping. I'm like, I got past the stage where I wanted to sleep on the ground anymore, right? And deal with the elements. I wanted to kind of, glamp it up a little bit, and started thinking about a camper. And that's
Did
Yeah.
Abe?
Yeah.
Did he have to convince you, or did you think you're nuts when he said, "Hey, we ought to buy a camper"?
No, I think I just kind of went along for the ride at that point.
Had you camped before?
Not in an RV, but
Okay.
we did do tent camping in Florida. And when I was a kid, my uncle used to take us out camping, it's like once a year.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
So then you buy a Tab 400
right.
to
so
go
then,
ham radioing.
Yeah, but like everything else, I mean, I have to research it to death.
Yeah.
And join every forum, and that's what I do. And I stumbled upon the Tab 400, and that's where I found your YouTube channel, the
Right.
Travels with Delaney YouTube channel, and kind of wanted something. Heard the kind of the horror stories about the less expensive campers and being kind of stapled together and everything. So it was the build quality that really appealed to me with the Tab,
Right.
and with the new camp line of products. And I still think that's true in terms
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
Yep.
it's
We agree.
We haven't had our Tab since 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and I still say it's the best quality RV
Yeah.
built
we
wise
had.
that we've ever
Yeah.
had. I mean, the Lance was, and I think you and I've talked about this. The Lance is a close second, but it's not quite that new camp level,
Yeah.
and it's at least for us. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but for us, customer service wise, it wasn't even in the ballpark of new camp's quality of customer service.
Right.
Yeah. They're
We've
awesome.
never had to engage Lance from a customer service standpoint, so I can't speak
Yeah.
firsthand. Our dealer was really, really good with we had a couple of small warranty items, but the build quality of the camper has been very good. We haven't had any experience at all, negative or positive, with Lance's customer service. But maybe that's testimony to the build quality too.
Right.
But New Camp was top tier. We had a couple of little issues, and we only lived a couple of hours away from the New Camp factory,
Right.
which made it easy to take it down for factory service. And that's when who was in charge of
Austin?
Austin, yeah. Dave was just so good,
Yeah, I mean, and we always went to New Camp and it was a little farther drive for us because it's about a 4-hour drive to get over there. But it was worth the 4-hour drive because we had bought our 400 in Florida, Gerseni's. So going from Indiana to Florida for service, I've had people say, well, how was Gerseni's service? I'm like, I have no clue. I never went back. We bought the RV, which was fine.
Know.
They were great when we bought it. But now with our Lance, we bought it in Texas at Round Rock with Princess Craft, PJ. And we did go back a couple times because of Woody and Priscilla living in Texas. And again, top-notch dealer, top-notch service at Princess Craft. But and Lance wasn't obviously an option because they're built out in California.
Right.
But yeah, New Camp, being able to take it back to New Camp was a real bonus. And,
it was, yeah.
So, well, I guess we could sit here all day singing the praises of New Camp. But so then, why do you still not have your Tab 400?
You can explain it much better than
I was gonna say, who wants that?
Well, it had nothing at all to do with New Camp or with the Tab 400 itself. But we were both working. We both had remote jobs, and the Tab was a really comfortable camper if you were spending the majority of your time outside, right? It was comfortable on rainy days. You had plenty of space at the table to eat. It had a residential queen-size bed. It wasn't that it was too small as a camper, but because neither one of us were retired, we both worked full-time, and we both had remote positions. And it's like, well, it seems silly that why not go out in the middle of the week when you can actually get a reservation and camp? So because it only had the one workspace, that meant somebody was either working outside or was working on a lap desk or was standing up at the counter or something. So the big reason we traded up size-wise was just for workspace, so that we had a large dinette and we could both work on the dinette on our laptops at the same time.
Yeah.
That's what drove the decision to move up in size.
Right.
And at the time, I needed 2 laptops for work, so I was eating
I remember that.
I was eating up so much of the space that was available already.
Like Command Central, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In a Tab 400.
Yeah. Right. So
Yeah.
that was really it. But that necessitates we were pulling the Tab with Volkswagen Atlas with an SUV.
Right.
So there was no way we were going to tow anything larger than the Tab 400 with that. So this is what we always call the slippery slope.
Yes.
Right. So you can upgrade your camper, but that usually means upgrading the tow vehicle.
Right.
So that meant getting a pickup. And that's it's just start notching it
Right.
up. But I will say that if I could have kept both, I would have kept both.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
still have a soft spot for the Tab.
Oh.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a certain coziness about it, right? And
it's unique. It's not like a lot of the other campers as well.
No. And the Lance is, it's not huge. It's a 2285, so it's 27 feet bumper to ball. And so it's not huge by, some RV standards, but the Tab was a lot more maneuverable. It didn't matter what space was left at the campground or the state park. You could take it, and the Atlas and the Tab fit. Right now, even if you back the Lance all the way in, there's sometimes nowhere to put a truck. There's certainly nowhere to put 2 cars. Right. So I do miss the nimbleness of the Tab.
We
There
do
is something
too.
to be said.
Because we used to go into campground and they'd say, "Well, we don't have any sites available." We're like, "You got any tent sites?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "But they, and a lot of times it was like, well, if you'll allow us to park our Tab, and they're like, okay, you could do that." I parallel parked our Tab 400 in Grants Pass, Oregon, because I wanted to go to the original Dutch Brothers or their flagship store, and there was no like big parking lot. And Patty goes, "Well, there's 2 spots up there, but you'd have to parallel park." I'm like,
Okay.
"Watch me."
Yeah.
Remember that?
Well, we took it through a drive-through.
We actually took it through a drive-through.
Yeah.
once, yeah.
Yeah.
You ain't doing that with this big alliance that
No.
we're sitting in.
No, you have to kind of think ahead for every move you make.
Yeah.
The bigger you get,
Right.
you can get into places that you can't get out of.
Right.
So,
You started with the TAP 400 to go ham radioing, then COVID hit, and now you're not just doing some weekend trips. Now you're like, hey, we're working remote anyway, so now you're going out for longer periods of time, so you need the workspace. And by the way, you're still in that Lance from 2020.
Yes.
So in the time period that you've had 1 trailer, we've now had 3.
yes. Yes. Yeah.
I feel like my influence is shrinking these days.
It is.
It used to be I bought a 400, you
Yeah.
bought a 400. I bought a Lance, you bought a Lance. I bought a Lance, you said I'm out.
I'm out. We're done. We're done. But I think we've gone to like RV shows. You go to the one in Cleveland or Pittsburgh, and in the wintertime because there's nothing else to do. And I have to say, I have yet to walk through a camper, an RV, where I walked out and said I'd rather have this than the Lance.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened.
Right.
I just think for us, it's the space works out really, really well. It's very generous tank sizes, which is nice. You can go away and if you just have an electric side or you have to boondock, I mean there's 4 45-gallon tanks. There's 2
Right.
gray tanks, a black and a fresh. So you can go 3 or 4 days easily.
Right.
And I just think the layout works really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ton of storage, plenty of place to sit, and it's just a good layout.
Right.
It's a nice,
Yeah, I
happy
like your trailer.
Goldilocks medium.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we're back, they're cutting us all back from the remote work, and they're like, get back to the office. And so now you
Yes.
can't go out for weeks at a time, right?
Right.
Not like you used to. And so tell us a little bit how your camping has changed in the last, I don't know, whatever it's been, year, 2 years, however you want to tell it.
Yeah, I think the biggest change was I ended up needing to work on site.
Right.
And so we weren't able to travel as far as we used to. So with that, and then I had gone back to school in spring of 2022, which I'm hopefully going to be graduating come the spring. I'm excited. So, and because I needed to be on campus for class, that also,
Right.
because we used to take like a Thursday and like leave early for the weekend ahead
Right.
of time, and maybe I would like work remote on Friday. But since that wasn't an option anymore, we found that it was becoming more it was becoming trickier to schedule time to go camping.
Right. And I think and the reason I wanted to talk about this, because I think there's a lot of families out there that this has been happening because, they, during COVID, they could get away a lot more, or maybe it has nothing to do with COVID, but maybe they bought the trailer when the kids were little. Now the kids are in high school. And so camping habits change for everyone potentially, just because 2 or 3 years ago, we were all getting to go out for a week at a time because we could work remotely, or because your kids were in elementary school. Now, all of a sudden, the kids have sports on the weekends, and so you kind of saw that just with normal life. We've seen that.
Yes.
We always went out for, I
Right.
shouldn't say always, but we were going
would
out
go
for
a
6 to
lot.
8 weeks in the
Right.
summer. We had an opportunity come along at Happy Acres,
And
and
that's
now
changed,
and
yeah.
now we don't travel in the summer like we used to.
Right.
Right.
So
Right.
and so I remember the day you called me. I think you called me, and you said, I got something to tell you. and I was expecting you were like, yeah, we bought a new RV, and it
Yeah,
wasn't.
we bought an alliance. We drove
Yeah.
to where'd you drive? Yeah.
yeah, you drove to Wisconsin up to King's RVs. yeah.
Exactly. Bought an alliance.
But you didn't buy an Alliance or an RV.
No, we went completely in reverse. We actually sold our pickup.
Right.
So the 2285 is absolutely half-ton towable, right?
Right.
It falls.
And that's what
very
you were
nicely.
towing with.
That's what I was towing with, right? A Silverado, and I was leasing it, and the dealer, I was on a 3-year lease, and 2 years in, they offered to buy out the lease, and I said, okay, if we can work out a deal, and they had a Silverado there that I really had my eye on, and it had been on the lot for the better part of a year, but it was like the perfect truck, right? I'm
Right.
like, and I thought, you know what? I could lease again, but then you're sort of in that perpetual cycle.
Lease, yeah.
I'm like, it's going to cost more for the short term to buy the truck, but I'm going to go ahead and buy this Silverado, and then once it's paid for, we're done. Right. So it did that, and that's when things kind of changed, and we were going out less and less. And if I'd had the crystal ball, I would have said, well, I'm just going to ride the lease out, or I'll lease a different truck or whatever. But because we weren't really going out that much, a year in, I'm like, trucks are expensive. Right, it's
all the way around.
All the way around.
I mean, not just the purchase price, but
operating them. The gas mileage, and I do work from home, so it's not like I'm driving to work every day. But I'm like, a truck arguably makes a kind of a ridiculous daily driver if you're one person driving yourself around. Right, they're a pain in the neck to park. Right, they're gas thirsty. All of this. So I'm like, what? And then you start to take stock of like, well. What are we busting our butts for? Picking up extra hours and overtime and all this stuff for what?
For a truck that's getting hardly used.
For a truck that's towing a camper, 2 or 3 times a season.
Right.
So I'm like, this seems like an easy place to really ease up on the budget. But how do we continue camping? Because I don't want to sell the camper. We couldn't touch. When we bought our camper, it was the summer of 2020. So it was right in the heart of the pandemic, but prices hadn't gone up yet. When we bought this one, this was one of 2 campers on the lot. He ordered like 18 of them. He got 2. One was sold, and the other one was ours. And that was the last camper they got in because of the pandemic. Everything had shut down manufacturing-wise. So we got a really good price. They were still discounting them. Money was cheap. This was pre-inflation, right? So I'm like, it would be foolish to sell the camper. That makes no kind of sense, right? Even if we can only use it a few times a year, we're not going to get as good a deal. We're not going to find the financing. We're not going to find,
especially if you guys really like your camper.
Right.
We do.
I mean, and we still enjoyed going out when we could.
Yeah, absolutely. So it made no sense. I couldn't buy a Tab 320 for what we were paying for a full-size Lance, you know.
Sure.
So I started looking into, like, what's plan B? Well, do you have any friends who have trucks? Well, as it turns out, we do, right? And they have offered.
Sure, Jim. It's only a 4-hour drive to come up and pick your trailer up. I will.
I know. It seemed like a genuine offer until I started to think, no, that's a long way to drive to Indiana to borrow the truck. But I learned that Enterprise Truck Rental, we have one about 20 minutes away from us, and they rent trucks expressly for hauling and towing. So it's not like your regular Enterprise rent-a-car place, because you can't tow with an Enterprise rent-a-car. You're not supposed to anyway, right?
Right.
But they have a truck rental that rents 3-quarter and 1-ton trucks expressly for people who want to haul and tow. And it's like $100 a day and $25 if you want, by the time you add tax and insurance and all that stuff. So I'm like, for $1.25 a day, let me do some math here. It's like, for as often as we're camping, it's way more affordable to just rent the truck.
Right, as opposed to be paying a monthly payment on a truck, all the upkeep on the truck, and
And I mean, circumstances will change. Abe's going to graduate, and we may be able to go out more often or want to go out more often. And if that's the case, and if it starts to become more advantageous to buy a truck, then we'll look at a truck.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we know that's not going to happen for the next couple of years. So in the meantime, I leased a cheap and cheerful Volkswagen for my daily driver, and I get 40 miles to the gallon, and it's a nice, and it's easy to park, and it's easy to drive, and I can wash it in 45 minutes without a stepladder, and so, it was just like, you kind of get into that rut. You're like, well, this is silly to pay for a truck, or this is silly, how much do you want to get rid of? I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, well, we're not going to camp, because we still do. I mean, we're here.
Right. Absolutely.
So, so when we're able to do so, it takes a little bit more planning.
Right.
But economically, it's...
But if you're only going out, a handful of times, and you're going to plan those out anyway around everything that's going on in your lives.
Right.
So then it's just, book the campsite, book the truck.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I remember I was kind of floored when you first told me, but then when you talked me through it, I'm like, gosh, that makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
it does.
Now, obviously, this wouldn't work for everybody because,
Right.
again, like Jim said, this is not your normal enterprise.
Right.
It's a dedicated truck enterprise rental center,
Correct.
so you would have to be near, one of those.
Right, and there's not as many of those as there are just regular
Right.
enterprise. So,
But if you're somewhere, that would be a good alternative for somebody who's maybe we don't want to get rid of the camper, we don't want it just sitting all year. How do we get it to a local
Yeah,
campground?
absolutely.
and even if you wanted to go, like we go to Mosquito Lake State Park. That's our closest state park in
Right.
Ohio, and it's 20 minutes away. And if we wanted to book a week or 10 days, because we can run home
Right.
from there, right? And Abe can get to work easily, you
Yep.
can get to campus easily, I can get to the house easily if I need to get back to the house for anything. So you rent the truck, you drop the trailer off,
Return
take the
the truck
back, and then
So then you're only paying for like 2 days for
Yeah.
your 7 or 10 days
yeah,
of camping.
and then the night before you want to leave, you go pick up the truck and
There you go.
tow it home, drop
Right.
the truck off, and yeah, I mean it's not as easy as just backing it in your driveway
Sure.
and calling it, but
Right.
it's a lot less money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
And there'll probably come a day, I think you mentioned, that you may end up when your life changes, situations change, where you say, now we want to camp more. And then at that point, that's when you'd say, let's start looking at trucks again.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and I think since I would probably, keep the smaller car as the daily driver and go cheap and cheerful on the truck, or like used on the truck,
Right.
and just make it a dedicated tow vehicle.
Mhm.
Right.
And that doesn't have to be brand new or just a couple of years old. I mean, if it had 50 or 60 or 80,000 miles on it, if you're only using it once a month to tow an hour or two away, what difference does it make?
Right.
It's still got a lot of life in it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's why so I had asked you to share the story because I just feel like there's probably people out there, who maybe are at that point where you were, and thinking we got this RV, we don't necessarily want to sell it, but we can't get rid of the high price truck or with the fuel prices high, whatever, and to be able to share that, and maybe if somebody hears this and goes, I never thought about that. We're only using the camper a couple times a year. Maybe we don't have to. Or I was actually thinking for maybe that person who's thinking, I would love to own an RV, but I don't want to have to go out and buy a truck.
Right.
Obviously one option is you can if you live in an area where they rent RVs, you could do that. But if you wanted your own RV to go out for a week in the summer and a couple weekends throughout, to know that if you're near a place that rents trucks, that could be a much more affordable option than going out and buying a $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 truck, and some of those trucks now.
And that's
go,
entry level
Yeah,
anymore,
that's-
right,
yeah.
for trucks, and
Yeah.
that's your basic, the plumber special, as I call
I
it.
mean, when it,
It's
yeah, because I mean, when you go out and you're looking at truck prices and they're more than the
Yeah.
first house we
Yeah.
bought, it's like crazy. I
That
mean,
happened with us.
yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
even
crazy.
the used trucks. Now I don't know. We haven't obviously been looking at trucks for a
No, but
while. It's
when
been a
we
couple of
did,
years. Like even 2 years ago when we were looking for our 3/4
Used
ton
trucks were
used truck, they
crazy
were wanting
prices.
like 35 to
Yep.
40,000 for a truck with over 100,000 miles
Right.
on it, which is one of the reasons we opted for new. We didn't want new,
right.
but I think we got our Silverado 2500, and it's just the LT. It doesn't have any bells or whistles. But I mean, it was like 50,000 new, which was a lot of money. But I was like, I'm not spending 35 for this that had almost 150,000
Yeah.
miles
Right.
on it.
And I think
Right.
that's why they were so agreeable to wanting to term the lease early, because they didn't have any used truck inventory and they could get a really high
Absolutely,
price.
yeah.
sure.
So it was
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I don't know. Again, I haven't been looking, so I don't know how those truck
Yeah, I don't
prices are
know.
now. But
Yeah.
yeah. So, and I think that's a lot of times, people will make comments on our YouTube videos and stuff where it's very, what's the word, like where they, like that's just dumb what you do.
Very
Okay.
judgmental.
Very
Judgy?
judgmental. Yeah, very judgmental.
That's- yeah.
And, one of the things I've always said about camping, why can't we all get along as RVers? If there's people who like camping in tents,
Well,
and there's
there's
people
just
who like
different ways
Class
of
A's,
doing
and
it.
and
Yeah.
then the other thing is, we've had some friends that are full-time RVers and come off the road, and then they get these nasty comments about, I'm not following you anymore because I only followed you when you were a full-time RVer. Folks, I
Life
don't
changes.
think life changes, and I don't think most people, are going to live in their RV
Well,
their
if
whole
you think
life.
about just not RVing, but your life in general.
Life in general,
there's different journeys you take as you go through life, and so
I mean, we've had some people leave comments, not necessarily nasty, but more like, I don't really watch your channel anymore because you guys never travel anywhere. Well, our life changed because we didn't intend to not travel anymore.
Just
like in the summer,
situation came up.
We just had an opportunity, and kind of like Abe, you going back to school, it was an opportunity. And so I don't think anybody's life is ever static, and if it is, that's kind of boring,
No. And you can't, we were talking about this when you were out getting propane today, Patrick. It's like, you make the best decision that you can with the information you have at the time.
Right.
So here's what I want to do. Here's where my life is. But I mean, if I would have known like that our life was going to change a little bit, I could have said, okay, well, no, I'm not going to turn in the lease early. I'm just going to ride it out, and then okay. But who knew?
Right.
Right. I mean, and you get a smaller camper, and the tab was perfect for the way we were camping. Right. Because when we camp, we don't necessarily want to be inside, right? And again, people camp differently. There are people that you see that, like you never see them outside of their camper.
Right.
But okay, if that's the way you want to camp, then
that's your choice.
Rock on, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
that's fine. And then there are people who spend 95% of their time outside of the camper. Well, we were just basically looking for sort of a step up from the tent, right? Where we had our own restroom, we had our own shower, you sleep in your own bed, and if the weather turns bad, then you've got a place to go where you can spend the day. And so the tab was perfect for that. Absolutely perfect.
Absolutely.
Did it have an awning? No. Did you have to put the pop-up tent
Yes.
out? Yeah, all that stuff. Did it have big tanks? No.
Nope.
So, there were compromises, but it suited us really well at the time. But it was just short on basically workspace.
Yeah. Same way with us. I mean, we loved our Tab 400.
We were short on puppy space.
We were short on puppy space, because I mean, honestly, the first year and a half we had it was great.
With Delaney.
And it was with
perfect.
Delaney, and then Truman was a baby, and Bess was a baby. But as they got bigger,
it was like,
and it was
boy.
like I started getting claustrophobic in the bed because I always slept in the wedge of the.
Well,
the
because these two like to take the bed.
Yeah, well, that's true.
And these two don't understand that they could have went to the bottom of the bed. They want to be up by your
Delaney
shoulders.
always slept at the bottom of the bed.
Yeah, these two wanted to be snuggle babies at the top, and you're like, I'm tight.
Yeah, and I know there were people really disappointed when we sold the 400 and went to the Lance. But again, it goes back to things change, our lives change, and you have to live your life, and I have to live my life, and
you don't know what you don't know.
And you don't know what you don't know.
You really don't. You really
so
don't.
It's like
you've heard that thing where buy your last camper first.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Don't cheap out. Go for the one you really want. And you see these on forums. Like I was really infatuated with Airstreams for a long time, and the most you see people buy like a 19-footer or a 23-footer. And a year later, they're buying the 27, right? And they said, we should have just bought the 27 because we lost money. But you don't.
You don't know what you don't
really,
know.
You can.
We've been there.
Right.
Many times with different things.
I always, this is my thing.
It's my money.
Yeah. First off, it's my money. My money, my choice.
I knew you were going there.
And I said that in a podcast earlier this year when we bought this RV because I knew people were going to say, oh, my goodness, you just bought. Why didn't you buy the bigger one a year ago when you bought? Because we didn't know the year prior that we were going to
need one.
Yeah, we didn't need one. We weren't going to move. And so I started that podcast by saying, I just want to be clear. First off, it's my money, which has become a big joke.
You need a shirt that
you need the shirt. Yeah, it's my money.
It's my money.
And same way with you or anybody listening. If you make decisions that are best for you, that's nobody else's business but
your own.
Right.
Yeah. And you shouldn't feel guilty if you come to a point in your RV career where you're like, this RV's been great, but it's just not big enough anymore. Or it could be the other way.
Could be too big.
Yeah, maybe you bought a Class A and you enjoyed it for several years and it worked well with the family and the kids. But now the kids have went off, and maybe that Class C or that Class B, or maybe you're like, I want a Tab 400. Because it's just the two of us. Whatever. So
I think here's where like some Ted Lasso philosophy comes in. I'm pulling out Ted.
Pulling out some Ted.
Pulling out some Ted. I just lost it. Don't be judgmental. Be curious.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's Ted Lasso for you.
There you go.
I mean, we're sitting here at Alum Creek, and across the street yesterday, I see this RV pull in.
Yeah.
It's not a big. What would you say, Jim? 23
Travel
feet.
trailer,
23 foot.
23
yeah.
foot.
Yeah.
Coachman travel trailer.
Pretty
Being pulled by a Rivian truck,
fancy.
electric truck. For those of you who don't know what that is,
And go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, I mean, there's
and the Tesla shows up.
oh yeah, and there's a Tesla
there's
there
a Tesla,
today.
yeah.
But it's like. You and I were talking last night at dinner, like, well, I bet they don't go very far with an electric. But again, we're not judging. We're just curious about.
No.
We think it's awesome that they're
Yeah.
towing their RV with an electric
Mhm.
vehicle. But I guarantee you, there's probably somebody that's driven by there going, "That's just ridiculous."
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's
Someone's
not ridiculous
stuck in their
because
ways.
maybe
Yeah.
they live around here and they just camp locally, and
Yeah.
an electric truck
Right.
does a great job.
Maybe you're within a couple hundred miles,
Yeah.
and it's fine. Yeah.
That's what
Because I
they
guarantee
want.
it gets better mileage than my truck,
And it's their money.
and it's
their
their money. That's right.
Yeah. Well,
So-
you talk about having like the foresight,
Yeah.
and if you knew then what you knew now, or
Yeah.
whatever that. We were talking today about like things that you like when you first got into RVing, or things that you thought were going to be
Yes.
like necessities, or like,
Yes.
oh, I have to have one of these. And we were talking about things that we still, if it went away, we would buy again, like right away.
Sure.
And things that were just like, I don't know what I was thinking, but
Yeah.
that was a terrible.
So let's close
purchase.
with that.
Yeah.
Let's close with that.
Okay.
Let's go around.
Oh no.
So maybe something you've bought that
For the trailer?
Yeah, for the trailer that you never use, and you're like, I'd never buy that again.
Right.
And then something you're like, oh, I have to have it, like if I trade trailers
Yeah.
or something. So
I'm going blank.
I'll start.
Okay, I'll start with one.
Okay, go ahead.
The outdoor carpet. The big outdoor carpet
Yes,
that we used to have.
we started.
Oh,
we carried an
yeah.
outdoor carpet.
Big
that,
one.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
You buy, you put the stakes,
And-
stake it down.
and can I just clarify? If you use an outdoor carpet, please don't be offended. It just
Right.
doesn't work for us. Okay.
Right.
But we know a lot of people like outdoor
And
rugs.
we used that thing, but clean up, and then it just
But
became we don't need
we
it.
carried it for how many years?
And didn't
we're-
even use
And finally,
it.
I said, "Why is this in the RV? We don't even use it." That's a good one. That's a good one for something
That
that
is
we.
a good one.
Ding, ding,
What about you
ding.
guys? We'll go to on something you
Oh.
bought that you're like, "Why did we buy it?"
I don't know. Something
I can
we
think of
bought.
something for you.
Because he might have gotten a story.
I might have gotten a
Yeah.
story earlier.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, I'll tell mine, and it might jog a memory.
Okay.
But
okay.
this might not be a regret for you. But so it was. I think it was right after we got the Lance, and we were at something, a Tractor Supply or a Menards or something, and it was the end of the season, and it called out to me like the beam of light came down on the thing. It was that thing,
Yeah, like,
and it was a
ooh.
Weber charcoal grill, and I'm like, oh. Weber charcoal. Oh, I could cook with charcoal, right?
ah.
Did he had a
Wow.
gleam in his eye when he saw it, Abe?
And
Anytime we do anything with the trailer, there's a
It
gleam.
sparkled.
So I walk over, and it was like the full size one that's on the wheels and everything, and it was like
Fancy.
50 or 60% off or something. I'm like,
Ooh, they're practically giving it
they're
away.
giving it away, right? And I had just had this vision of steaks and burgers and
yeah.
everything, and just me mastering charcoal.
Oh, the pitmaster.
And the reality was, the thing was a pain in the neck to carry around, right? Because I could never get the cart set up right.
Oh.
And it was
yeah.
big, this big bulbous thing that would just roll around the bed of the truck, right? And then I could never master the art of charcoal cooking, right? So getting the little damper and the thing and it, you go back and there's like it didn't burn at all, or it's all gone. I couldn't control the temperature, so we either had salmonella or we had hockey puck burgers. And I'm like, this thing is just a giant pain in the neck. And then the last straw was I went to empty the ashes in the fire pit, and a breeze came up, and it's like this whole thing. And I'm like, why do people? That was the last time I took it
Why
out.
am I
It
doing
sat
this?
in the garage for
Yeah.
years
Oh.
until I was cleaning the garage out, and I hauled a bunch of stuff down to a buddy of mine who can't say no to anything. And I'm like, here, would you like a Weber grill? And he's like, oh, yeah. I'm like,
Ooh, there
yes,
you go.
that was my, yeah. I
Merry
did not
Christmas.
need to buy
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to agree because even just setting the legs up, I wanted to chuck that thing into the woods so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
Grill
Yeah.
chucking, that could be a sport.
It was.
Grill chucking, yeah.
Yeah.
So what about something that you have bought that, let's say if you traded the Lance or it broke, that you'd buy again?
Right away. Yeah.
Oh, it's not necessarily like camper related, but the pad, like to.
That's funny. That's
oh
what
my
Jim
Yes.
said in the truck earlier.
Yeah,
Because
because
I would say his pad, the little kneeling pad.
because it's I don't mind getting any kind of dirty, but it's just like being in like pants that have been soaked from the rain because you're trying to put
Yeah.
chains on.
From
Not fun.
Yeah,
from
so for those
kneeling.
of you listening, if you're not understanding, it's just a foam pad.
Yeah,
You see
yeah.
them in the garden section,
Yeah.
so that when you have to,
It's like
within
$5, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
But that way you're kneeling on it versus the ground.
Yeah.
Plus, if you're on gravel or stone,
Yeah.
you're not. You
Yeah.
know, yeah.
It's been fantastic. I break that thing out for everything. Like, but it's just it's.
That would be your-
I can't believe we didn't buy it sooner.
Yeah.
They've got a $5 item, and our
That would
item's
be your
going to be like a
must-have.
$350.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. Probably.
Yeah, all right. Max Air Fan Deluxe. I have put
Oh.
a Mac ever since
Yes.
the Tab 400. We put one in the Tab 400, and ever since then, every RV we've owned,
We
which
love
was
it.
the Lance
Yep.
and 2 Alliances
Yep.
now, we always upgrade our fan to the Max Air Deluxe.
That would be, that's
and it's
awesome.
worth every penny to us because they always come with the fan, and some of them come with a Max Air, but not the Deluxe. And the Deluxe is the one where it goes up and down. You turn it off, it can come down, and goes up. You can have it on during the rain. You can reverse it to either have air in or air out.
You
It's
can have it
thermostat
on
control.
You can
auto.
set a temperature.
Yes.
And
Auto.
can you use yours as a ceiling fan? Where you don't
Yes.
have to open it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I could see it really needs cleaned right
Yeah.
now, so don't look.
So that's something where I would say, because trust me, we bought plenty of things where we're like,
Yeah.
same with the Weber Grill, where this is gonna change our camping lives, and then 6 months later, you're like, why did we buy this?
Let's pitch this thing. Yeah.
And but like for things, and there's always going to be things where you're like, oh yeah, this is great.
Yep.
We buy it again.
Yep.
What
but
was your regret?
my regret? I mean, there's probably been quite a few. We did ask one year for Christmas for a portable washing machine, and my brother-in-law got it for us. And don't get me wrong,
works.
it works. It does work. And
But then
when
we
were
didn't think about the drying part.
well, the drying part was an issue, and the thing is, it's just
Big.
it's big. It takes up a lot of space in the bed of the
Water.
truck.
And how do you clean
And
it?
Yeah, and so when we
The
were going out
mess.
west with the Lance, we
Yeah.
did use it out there because we liked to,
Yep.
on
We were on
BLM land, things like that.
Yep.
And we didn't want to have to go find a laundromat, so we could throw in our laundry, and it didn't take that much
You
water.
did a good job.
It did a pretty good job. But that thing's been sitting in the attic now for about 3 years because
Yeah.
we went from, this is talking about changes
Right
in your
next to the Weber grill.
yeah, your Weber grill and our portable washing machine.
Or getting to know each other.
Land of misfit RV accessories.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'd say, but I'm sure there's several because I think all of us go through that. I think all
Right.
new RVers and
Like,
even veteran
ooh,
RVers,
Try that.
you see things and you're like, oh, that would revolutionize, and change the world, and then not so much. I mean, and here's the thing. I think it's possible that, like, I'll give you one. We bought an ice machine, ice maker.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have people that I know, they love their ice maker in their RV. They carry it with
do.
them everywhere.
Yep.
We tried it. It just, for us,
It's space.
it took up space, and what do you do?
and
So we quit carrying it.
Yeah. Don't.
So I
carry
think
it.
it's possible one RVer it's their treasure, and another RVer it's their trash or junk
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
unusable.
Well, listen to you being poetic.
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I
That-
can't blame the grill. I mean, it was pure operator error.
I just
It's-
envisioned Jim
I
kicking
did
it.
I did the grill at his service. It wasn't the other way around. I'm just
right.
yeah.
I just got this.
So if
vision
you have a
of
Weber
you
charcoal
kicking this
grill, no hate.
No, not at all. I really wanted that thing to work, but I think I
Yeah.
was attracted by it was a deal.
Yes.
Well, at least none of us said something like the Ronco Pocket Fisherman. You remember that?
Yes.
The Ronco Pocket Fisherman.
Oh,
Perfect
boy.
for your RV. Doesn't take up a lot of space.
Yeah.
You can go out and catch your dinner.
Yeah.
Cook it on Jim's Weber grill.
Weber grill. Yeah.
So,
There you go.
all right. Well, this has been so much fun. I really appreciate you taking time out of our short camping trip to sit down with us
Yeah.
and chat. And
It's always fun.
any last thoughts? I'll give you the last word.
I I don't know. We're gonna have to start a new tradition next year.
I think we are.
I
Yeah.
think tradition's changing.
Yeah.
We
the
might
winds have
next year
changed.
be in a new location, and it might be a new tradition. So.
Mystery and intrigue.
Yeah.
Again.
So keep listening every week
Life
till next year to
changes.
find out.
That's
Things
right.
change.
Well, Jim, thank you.
Yes.
It's nice to actually say it in person. We always thank Jim for
Yes.
all the effort he puts into.
Yes.
You're welcome. It's a
he-
pleasure.
he-
I have a lot of fun doing these.
He doesn't get paid very often.
No, but I
he-
get nice perks.
Yeah, he did get a bottle of Russell's 10-year this trip from us. So
Yeah.
I don't know if Abe's not a bourbon drinker, so that didn't help him out.
Aren't you
so.
going to get him a Taco Bell taco tonight? Isn't
I was
that-
thinking about, I said I would buy dinner tonight at Taco Bell for
Yeah.
everybody.
You
That's what our
decided.
podcast budget allows
That's
for.
what
That's
it's
right.
All right, and thank you to all of you for taking time out of your day to listen to us or watch us over on YouTube. And hopefully everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We're almost rolling up on Christmas, so
Holy moly, yes.
yeah, it's coming up quick.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Until next time, we'll see ya.
On down the road.
Bye.
Travels with Delaney. We'll see you on down the road.